So what we have is a structural deficit, monies that you can't throw one-time money at it, even if we had it. And that's about $500 million, $500 million. That is going to complicate the picture tremendously. But you know, that's better than we've been in the last 3 or 4 years. That's much better than we've been at. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm relatively hopeful. Everybody is talking, I've been to each of the hearings, and everybody is talking about the importance of local aid. We're hearing it over and over again. And I think that both the House and the Senate leadership is concerned about it, aware of it. We know that we need to get you your cherry sheet numbers as fast as we possibly can. We've always done that. We'll do that again this year. It would be nice if we could get it so that you could really do something and plan accordingly. And we'll try to do it as quickly as possible. Our hope is that it will not be worse than last year. I mean, I'm trying to say gently that I don't want to encourage you too much, but I'm hopeful that we will do at least as well as we did last year. And if things look good by the time of the Senate budget, that might even be better. You understand that we started with House 1, which is the governor's budget. That came out a few weeks ago. The numbers are vague at that point. They really don't know what the revenues are going to be like. By the time the House budget comes out, we're further along the way, a clearer picture. And then by the time of the Senate budget, we've already gone through April. April's a big collection month, obviously. And so we have a much better understanding of where we are. Again, my hope is we'll do at least as well as we did last year. Any questions that I can answer specifically?
Well, I was just going to start off, you kind of answered my question about the cherry sheet, because that always is helpful to know where we stand. And I don't know how much time we got, but I guess we could go down every major department in town that needs money, whether it's the school department, public safety with our fire and police, and then DPW. I mean, that I could go on all night about that. So we have some major issues in the town, like I was saying just to our fire chief earlier, that years past we could we're creative because we had the money, whether it was through new building or selling off some town-owned land. We had some money to use, but this year we really don't have any creative ways to come up with that money. So this year is going to be very, very tight. And I don't know, that's all I really can say on that matter. Just hope that we can get some good numbers from the state. And I'll just open up to many of my fellow board members if they have any questions.
Mr. Chairman, I just thank the Senator for coming in. The communication from your office and the state rep's office will be just so important for us as a member of the subcommittee trying to balance the budget. The sooner we can have an idea, and I'm hopeful that the numbers coming out of the House as well as the Senate will be more positive than what the governor's initial budget was, because we are, we tried to be as creative and financially wise and prudent over the last few years in saving people's jobs and trying not to lose people that live in the town of Clinton, that work for the town of Clinton, having them lose their positions. So we've tried to do what we could do over the last 3 or 4 years. This year, those avenues are absolutely gone. We're looking at, our property values. We're looking at new growth. We've looked at all kinds of fee structures. And the bottom line is we're going to need help from the state. The school's budget is quite large. A lot of that budget, I think almost 25% of it, is state mandated when it comes to special education. So they're in a bind that we need to support and understand. And then obviously our general government with our public safety, we have contractual obligations, but we also have infrastructure obligations when it comes to our trucks and our pipes and our streets and things like that. So any and every dollar of local aid that we can get that's above and beyond last year, we desperately need this year.
As I mentioned to you when we spoke just a few minutes ago, one of the issues that I've raised and Representative Naughton has raised in 2 separate hearings now is the question about newer foster children. who attend the Clinton Public Schools. That's an issue that continues to haunt the school committee and haunt you as well, basically, because there's a question of whether, who's paying for it and what that means to you. The DYS claims that it's being rolled into your local aid. I question that. I really question that. And I'm going to be meeting with your school committee on Tuesday night. And I'm going to raise this question with them because I think Mr. Ellsworth, you told me this yourself. It's about a quarter of your budget, of the school committee budget, special education. So if we can get some sort of finding on that and get some sort of resolution on it, it will make a huge difference. Every dollar counts at this point in time. So we're going to try to follow up with the Secretary of DYS, the Commissioner of DYS, and frankly, I want to follow up with the schools to find, they have the ability now through their technology, they can track the number of children that they have, and we have to make sure that you're getting compensated for it. And if you're not, why not? So that's another area.
I thank you for your support. I look forward to the additional revenue if it's at all possible, because the town will this year desperately need it. So.
There is one other area that I'd like to bring to your attention. I'm sure you're aware of it, but since I was involved in it, I'd like to talk about it with you. It's an opportunity for you as well, and see who else you have here tonight, and I think it might be an opportunity for them as well. And that is, last year as chairman of Housing and Urban Development, I was involved in developing something called Chapter 40R. Chapter 40R is a way of encouraging communities to build more housing. That's really what the whole basis of it is. And it encourages a town to set aside what they call an overlay district, and it's up to you what that would be. You're almost perfect in terms of what we're looking for in this, because it's a smart growth concept. It's combining where you already have density to get more density. And what the state will do to encourage you to do this is to provide you with compensation for, once you permit, once you set up this overlay district, and it can be any size, but it can't, no one overlay district can be more than 15% of your total town. But what they will do is once you set it up, once you change the zoning, they will pay you, town, not a developer, but you. And then once you start permitting, they will pay you again for every unit that that comes as a result. The piece that we hope we'll see this year is that we would like to be able, and I filed legislation to do that, any children, additional children to go to your schools, because that's got to be another problem that you're going to have, is any additional children that comes as a result of that, we would like to see the state take care of the foundation budget for those children, so that you have a real opportunity and a real, there's a real incentive here for you to go ahead and do this kind of thing. You have a serious housing shortage here, especially for affordable housing. And it would be a wonderful thing if you could start thinking about this. It would give you another source of revenue, but it also provides housing for people who really are terribly short at this time, and you need that. So please keep that in the backs of your minds.
I guess that was when you were talking, my question about Chapter 40R is, what it's set for. I mean, if it's going to be bringing additional families in the town, then we have to say to the state, okay, how are we going to pay for all these extra children and these people coming in? I mean, we have a lot of building going on in the town right now with, condominiums and a lot of subdivisions right now. So, they're going to be bringing people in now. So I just think more building, bringing more kids, I mean, they're going to have some sort of solution for that, because it's just going to flood our schools that we're already at maximum capacity now.
They find that it really doesn't. That's the interesting thing. But I think the safeguard is to say, if it really doesn't, then the state should take up the responsibility for it.
Because if you're talking affordable housing, that's, to me, kind of sends up a red flag saying, okay, that it's, the struggling families, but usually some kids, with some children involved there, and they're going to be coming into our school system. where we just built, you know, a brand new elementary school and our high school is now at max capacity.
Some of them are there already. And the point is it better for them to be living in shelters, or is it better for them to have stable homes? I think it's better for them to live in stable homes, to be honest with you.
Well, I share that too, but I mean, not if the state's gonna, you know, flip that bill for children going into our school systems, I'm all for it. But I mean, you know, like I say, we have a lot of building going on right now in the town. So that, when I hear, you know, affordable housing, I just get kind of leery because that's gonna put a huge strain on our town. But if the state wants to pick up the tab, and continuously wants to pick up the tab, that's fine by me.
They're not picking it up yet for
Right.
education, but they're willing to pay you for what you zone and what you permit at this point in time. And it's certainly something that you should look into more carefully. Don't forget about it. It's there, and I think it will make a difference.
Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions for Senator?
Yes, I have a comment. I want to thank you also for coming, Senator Chandler, for being available when we need to have you, so thank you for coming. My question is more about Chapter 90 money. And I know every community probably has the same concerns, the same issues, but as I drive to Clinton a lot more, and it's like, I see the needs, so whatever you can do for us in the Senate, along
What
with
do you
Senate.
need in Chapter 90 money?
Excuse me?
No. It'll be helpful to me
Right.
immediately, because I need to have this immediately. You know, the Romney administration has targeted roads and bridges. That's something that they want to maintain. So if you could be more specific about Chapter 90 money,
Okay.
that would be helpful. That would be very helpful.
I just think we need, like, for example, actual infrastructure, so we need, like, some of the piping, because it's kind of, to me, it's senseless to fix a road, and then a year later, we gotta tear it up to put some pipes in or something like that, so.
That's been an ongoing problem.
Right.
Yeah, that's sewer.
That's really what we need to, like, get specific about. That's something that I think there's a real
I
need
mean,
for.
from a dollars and cents standpoint, I
Right.
think we're around 280 to
Right.
300, and we probably could use at least a $500,000 Chapter 90
Yeah.
check once a year.
Well, you have a 5-group, the first thing I ask for every year is the same thing. It's the $500,000 for the town of Clinton. And
Right.
Because with also Chapter 90 money, you can fund some equipment through there, so we could put some money
Yeah.
aside, God forbid, if a truck breaks down, we could use that money for an emergency.
If-
But it would be nice to have, like you say, a $500,000 check to put towards our roads and our...
If you could be very specific,
Sure.
because I think it would be helpful even if you were able to talk about it in a longer term.
Like a-
You've got a lot of piping
Right.
that is going.
So-
Most of it's over 100 years old.
We could have our DPW superintendent draft you a letter with like, almost like a punch list of prioritizing.
Would you?
We're planning, we had a discussion with him last week, we're planning on having some analysis done of the entire town from a below-grade infrastructure standpoint, because we have to start there. And then, you know, the bad roads, we know that. And he can map that out very clearly as to what his plans are. So if you need like basically a roadmap of how he wants to address the infrastructure and streets, I think he could work with us to deliver you that, especially if that type of material would help us get, you know, a significant increase in our Chapter 90.
I think one of the things you should think about is, do you need to have somebody to do deacon perhaps, or do you need an outside engineer to come in?
We're going
Do a
outside.
All right, you're going to do it, go outside. Maybe what you need in this budget, I don't need me to put words in your mouth, but what you need in this budget may be an engineering study of a long-range
Long-term.
infrastructure needs. Maybe that's what you need, because then if you have that done, it might be much easier to talk next year's budget of, well, this is what the report says. This is what it's going to cost over the long run. Let's see if we can do this in phases, and it'll be much easier to deal with. Otherwise, each year that goes by,
It's lost year.
it's a lost year, and it's harder, because it's that much more next
And
year.
that's what we've done. We have budgeted this year to do that study.
Good, you've
So-
budgeted already,
yeah,
so you
right.
don't need that.
No, so we're working to have that
Exactly.
number incorporated within that department to allow us, we can't keep letting this go on and on. We have to put a stake in the ground this year to do that analysis so that we can then give you the detailed information to justify, significant increases in our Chapter 90 requirements.
Because we realize there's an impact, and we need to understand what that impact is, so we can say, this is what we really need.
That's exactly what needs to be done here.
But with that being said, whatever you can do for us, we
Well, I think
really appreciate.
that's true. I mean,
Yeah.
and is there any one single area that is worse than the others?
Like you look at Main Street, that's pretty beat up.
Well, Steve, I was going to mention, thank you for coming, Senator, first of all. Secondly, I'd like to see the state help maintain some of the numbered highways that run through town. They used to maintain Route 110 through town, and then all of a sudden, I don't know, before I got here, the state stopped doing that. Well, that would be a big,
Is that District 3?
that's 3, yeah.
Then we should talk to District 3 about that.
Sure.
Same
I mean,
thing,
I don't know if it was.
same thing with Route 70 and the bridge there and those type of things.
Yeah, well, I mean, you ride through other towns and you see the state trucks taking care of the numbered highways, but they seem to stop at our town line for some reason, and
Maybe one of the things that we can do is arrange a meeting between District 3's leadership
That would be great.
and your DPW, and perhaps some of you who might want to come and push
Sure,
forward.
That'd be good for you.
I mean, that
If
might
we
be
could do this.
a way of moving this forward.
if you could arrange that, we'll be there.
We can arrange that.
Oh,
We can
certainly.
arrange that.
We appreciate it.
That'd be very helpful, that was a good point.
Any other questions for the?
I don't.
Senator, thanks again, we appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Senator.
Good luck down in Boston. Okay, next up, we have a 2005 Walk for Hunger. I believe there's some representatives here, and if they could come forward and just, I guess they want to explain a little bit about it. Welcome.
Good evening, Mark. As you know, I'm Bob Champagne, and I'm president of the Society of St. Vincent de Paul. Teresa.
I'm Teresa Kane. I'm the volunteer president of the We Community Services Board.
Jody Bridell, Executive Director of We Community Services.
I'm Reverend Paula Fletcher. I'm the president of the Item Appeal.
Thanks for coming again. Apologize, we just ran over there a little bit.
It's okay.
So thanks for being patient.
It's interesting.
It's work that had to be done. Hopefully we get some results. We're going to have a 5-mile walk for hunger again this year. It's been 7 years since we've had one. But the little different spin on it this year is that the 5-mile walk for hunger is going to be co-sponsored by St. Vincent de Paul, Wheat, and the Item Appeal. And that's who we're all representing here. Because we've found that we, as the 3 agencies serving the town, are working together just about every single week because of the needs have grown that much. And funds are really needed all the way through the year and not just at one particular time when we have a drive or whatever. This 5-mile walk for hunger is going to be dedicated also to the men and women on active duty in the armed forces, as well as all our veterans. And it's going to be held on May 28th, which is a Saturday before Memorial Day. And it will start at St. John's Gym and take the same route as the tribute race, and it will end at the Community Cafe, which is right in front of the St. John's Gym. The needs that we have here in Clinton have grown so much with unwed mothers and single mothers and divorced mothers and with children. It's been tremendous. And so far, we've been able to really cover most of those needs and help these people. But with a reduction of a lot of federal benefits and so forth, they expect private agencies to pick up the slack. And at this point, we can't do that. And this is why we need this walk, and we need it to be a success. Just for an example, just the Clinton Community Cafe, it's open 6 out of 7 nights a week, and 40 people are fed there every single night. And sometimes the crowd even goes to 50 or 60, I believe. So
Actually, we're upward to 60 to 70 people per night. We're serving over 1,200 meals per month at the Community Cafe. So what I think Bob is trying to say is we're trying to work together effectively 3 organizations pool our money together so that we can serve the needs more efficiently in the town and not duplicate services. So, yeah. And with this fundraiser, we're hoping to gain the support of the community, which we've never had a problem doing. And we're here before you tonight to ask for your support as you've supported the walk in the past.
Anything we can do. I just have a question on is there like a set fee for this to come up and do the walk, or is it just pay any
No.
type of donation?
I believe I gave you pledge sheets. It's covered.
Okay.
The Walk for Hunger, on the back of your sheet here is a pledge sheet. And this is how we're going to collect the money. And one of the things we're adding a little bit to this is that every person that brings in at least $75 is going to get a free T-shirt. And we hope with this and other co-sponsors or other people who hope to help us to defray the startup expenses, which, were fairly heavy. I mean, you get your advertising. We found out that the banner we had that used to go over High Street is too dilapidated to put up. So we're going to have to obtain a new banner along with the food and all the other things that we have to do. So we're kind of looking for the cooperation of the Board of Selectmen, the safety departments, and everyone to make this work.
Okay.
Yeah, we're actually looking at corporate sponsors as a way to defray the expenses, individual sponsors either donating items for the walk or participating in the walk and raising money through sponsorships. And of course, again, looking at maybe tapping into the civic fund. We're not sure what the balance is, but in the past, your committee has sponsored us upward to $1,000. So, we recognize that money is tight and we're following a tough act with Senator Chandler.
1,500.
I might also add that there will be a health walk that'll start 15 minutes before the Walk for Hunger, which will go around the park. And that'll be for individuals like myself and other people that can't go the 5 miles. So
You can do it, Bob.
pardon?
You can do it.
I expect you to go the 5 miles
I can do it.
and bring 50 people with you.
Well, what do we say, because it's still early yet, I would, if someone wanted to make a motion, I would say $500 and then we can.
I was gonna make a motion of 750, because we have $1,500 left.
Right. Just because we have Memorial Day coming up, and some other things coming up. I just don't want to drain it.
Yeah, so my motion.
I'll second it.
For 750?
Yes.
Okay, motion's been made and seconded for 750 contribution to the Walk for Hunger Committee. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it's unanimous. Thank you for coming, and anything
Thank
else
you
we
very
can
much.
do, please let us know.
Thank you.
We're on TV every other week, we can.
Thank
I'll
you.
get my form filled out.
Okay.
We'll look forward to seeing you all.
Good luck. Thank you.
You're right.
Okay, next up, we have a Class 2 dealer license hearing for 5 Russell Place. We have Scott Arsenault doing business as Scott and Son Sales. Welcome.
Oh, yeah. How you doing?
So this is a transfer?
Yes.
Yeah, he wants to take over.
Okay. I could have sworn we did this last year. Didn't we?
Well, we
No.
talked
Wasn't
about
it?
it. We talked about it.
Oh, you talked about it, that's what it was.
We just talked about it.
All right. And basically, you're gonna keep everything the same down there?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Well, we did receive a letter from our building inspector in support of it, but I will open up to my fellow board members if they have any questions or comments for you. Does any board members have any?
No, it's pretty straightforward for me.
Dino?
Does that mean you're going to retire?
Well, that means I'm turning it over to,
Just check.
well, I'm
You're gonna manage?
this way instead of that way.
What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the Class 2 dealer license to Scott Arsenault, doing business as Scott and Son Sales. for 5 Russell Place.
I'm sorry, before we do that, Selectman Elway just brought to my attention that it is a hearing, so if there's anyone that
Sorry?
wants to speak in favor for it, please do so now. There being none, anyone who's like to speak against this, speak up. Okay, there's no one here, I guess, to pro or con. So, Dino, your motion, we'll close the hearing and we'll listen to motion.
Yeah, well, I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, to grant the, is it a new license? It's a transfer, to transfer the license to Scotty Arsenal, doing business as Scott and Son Sales at 5 Russell Place.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded for a Class 2 car dealer license transfer. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, unanimous. Scott, good luck.
Good luck.
Enjoy retirement.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, next up on the meeting, we have 715 Water Filtration Facility monthly update. I know we have Mike here from
Earth Tech.
Earth Tech. Thank you, Dino. It's been a long day. And we have our Superintendent of DPW, Chris McDonald.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Good evening, gentlemen.
Welcome, gentlemen, and Mike, you're on.
Okay,
Want to brief us on the our bullets here that we have?
Sure. I'm taking Steve's place tonight. He's unable to attend, but he gave me an update on...
Well, we're missing one guy too. He's down in Mexico, He's scouting other water filtration.
Yeah,
facilities down there.
our Corona plants, I think.
Yeah. Corona, yeah.
Just to give you an update on where things stand in the field, the fire sprinkler system is being installed. It's probably 75% overall throughout the building, and the electrical subcontractor continues to work. A lot of the permanent lighting has been installed, and he's now shifting over to wiring up a lot of the process equipment. The HVAC subcontractor has most of the ductwork installed and is now moved on to setting the HVAC equipment. And Methuen, as the general, has completed the pipe installation in the filter room and in the pipe gallery, and is now shifting over to chemical feed systems. They've placed concrete for the containment areas, and that work will be going on in the next month. Painter's been on site, so actually in the upstairs area, the upper level, which is like the control room, the lab and office, those areas are already being coated, and if you went in there, you'd see kind of a finish, colors or whatever.
Sounds like there's a good course up there now. Things moving.
Yeah, things are moving
Slowly,
along.
knock on wood, and things going to.
Yeah, exactly. And the plumber is pretty well set. He's got most of his rough plumbing in, and he just needs to come back and deal with the fixtures once a lot of the, once the painter's got his paint on the walls and the floors down. So things are going to start shifting over to more of a process side now in terms of getting equipment wired up and starting to run. And the contractor's planning most likely in the next month to start doing some of the work on the pumps up at the North Dyke pump station, to switch those over from one by one from the old pumps to new. So.
Any questions for Mike before I turn over to Chris?
Got one quick question on how are we progressing with the reservoir, the catch basin?
The lagoons?
The lagoons.
Yep. We have revised plans that we'll be giving to Methuen hopefully by the end of this week to Price. And we have a draft permit that I will be reviewing, and then that should be going out to EPA/DEP for the kind of two paths,
Yeah.
one with the contractor and one with the regulatory agencies. So,
Steve or Dino?
Questions?
Chris, anything to add?
No, I think really, well, yes, I shouldn't say no if I'm going to start talking, but I think the chemical feed system is the next big hurdle to get straightened out. And it's straightened out. Everything is figured out exactly what had to do. There were a lot of modifications to the system. I mean, putting things in different rooms from where they were because of different codes and problems with doing it the way it was laid out. Finally, they worked together pretty good about getting a plan down on how we were going to do it, and all the bugs are ironed out, and any miscellaneous equitment that they don't have yet that has been ordered. So that's the next really big push, is to get all that chemical feed stuff in, and that's basically all the computers and everything that basically runs the system is going to be going in, hopefully over the course of the next month and a half, 2 months. So.
And that's how I see it. Do you see it how
Yeah.
taking that long, about 2 months to get everything installed in there?
It's a lot.
Longer?
It's if you've ever gone through. Steve Small took me up to the plant in Fitchburg actually last week. Myself and Bob Swetman went up, and to see what has to go in, on top of the regular pumps and the big piping. Just all the small stuff is amazing. How much
Very
how much
detailed.
going. Oh yeah, yeah. And I think that's a big thing. And then we actually got, what he didn't say is the Mass Electric has got the transformer in up there. And their GE is in testing out the equipment prior to startup, which will be happening hopefully fairly soon, depending on what GE finds. So.
Any questions for?
I have a question since you brought it up, Chris. Well, we've been changing around with things, it's all functional and economically okay, and things like that.
Yeah, we're still confident. I mean, there were changes. We've had to add stuff. We've had to add containment walls. By moving the equipment around, we're lucky to be able to do that, because we were going to have to build a substantial masonry wall that we don't have to do now. But every time there's changes, there's some costs involved. We're obviously trying to minimize that. And I think the big thing is to find out what these lagoons are going to cost, which hopefully we'll know if we have the plans to them maybe by the end of the week or so. They're not terribly complicated, so I don't think it's going to take long to get the pricing. But certainly by the time we come back here next month, we're going to have a real good handle on it.
That was just one of my open concerns that I was worried about from the price tag standpoint.
I think what we plan on doing, we were just talking about before the next meeting, we're going to pretty much try to get a rundown of where all the costs are sitting right now, and what we foresee for problems, and just so everyone has a real good handle on where we're at. So.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve payment application number 28 for 301-730-54. It's a wreck that...
From Methuen? No.
From Methuen.
Okay.
That has been pencil wrecked by our DPW superintendent and director.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded for a payment application. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye, opposed, unanimous. And we have another one up here for a invoice submitted by Earth Tech for engineering work for the amount of $56.57.
I make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve invoice number 6/336694 for the amount of $56,087.27.
Motion, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded for a pay rec to Earth Tech for engineering work. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, unanimous. We also have an invoice submitted by Connecticut for storage of the filtration equipment for the period of February and March with the amount of $1,375. Is there a motion on that?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pay that invoice. $1,375.
Motion's been made, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Motion's been made and seconded for a payment to Connecticut for storage fees for the filtration equipment for the months of February and March. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, it's unanimous. Let's see, and we also have another invoice submitted by attorney Kieran Marr for his legal services in the amount of $6,053.96 for the period November and December 2004 and January 2005.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to pay that invoice.
Is there a second? Motion's been made and seconded for invoice submitted by Attorney Karen Marr. And just under discussion, Karen's our, basically our legal representative for, our counsel for the work being done up on the filtration facility, working with our own town solicitor, Dennis Sargent. And he's been a big help, to say the least. So, that being said, any further discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous. Next up, we have that proposed change order as reviewed by our tech.
And I believe you all have a copy of the change order form, the amount, and the summary of the items. And most of these issues are coordination issues. Some of them are on, hopefully, the last of the structural issues that we'll see on the project. I think we're beyond that at this point.
There was one more structural issue in the tower, wasn't there? The
Yes.
plank. There might be
Yes.
one more small
Yeah.
one, not a very
Small
big
one.
one, but that would take care of the structural issues with any luck.
And I don't know if you want to go through these specific items one by one, or...
I'd rather just make a motion, Mr. Chairman, to approve change order number 9. It's been reviewed by our DPW superintendent working with Earth Tech.
And our clerk,
And
Phil Bailey.
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made and seconded on the Earth Tech changes.
Change order 9 in the amount of, Mr. Chairman, $91,787.60.
Thank you. Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion on that? There being none. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous.
Okay,
Thank you, Mike.
great, thank you.
Of the originals, who takes, does he do Joyce or? The
You give it
original?
to Joyce and we'll sign, we can go through.
Chairman, I have a quick question for Chris. How did we fare through the storm last night, Chris? Any major problems, trees, and...
No, actually, we didn't have any trees. The cemetery crew did not have to go out, which I was stunned. But they, that wind was unbelievable. So, no, we didn't have any tree issues. We, obviously, it was cold and they did plow. It was not easy to plow. They were out. They never went home, basically. They were out a long time, and it was hard to tell if it was snowing or just drifting, but...
So the tree maintenance seems to be working?
Yeah, because I couldn't believe we didn't get a call. We didn't have any trees down, but it was great. But we took down a lot of a lot of dead ones. We've been at it, so we took down the ones on Main Street for you.
Thank you, and thank the guys for doing a great job.
Yeah.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Welcome. Good night.
Okay, next up we have a dog complaint hearing. Okay. Motion for a 5-minute recess.
5-minute recess.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. A mistake, and it was actually not a transfer, it was a issue of a new license, so we're gonna re-vote on that. So, we'll take a motion. on
Mr.
that.
Chairman, I'll make the motion to grant the
New license.
Class 2 dealer's license to 5 Russell Place.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded on a new Class 2 license. It's not a transfer, just for point of clarification. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Okay, we have a dog complaint hearing, and we have our dog officer here, or animal control officer, Stephen Mudgett. Steve, thanks for coming. You're on.
One of our parties is not here.
Okay.
However, I did speak with the owner of the dog prior to the meeting yesterday, Anita Drugi. She did receive the notice of the meeting. She expressed to me that she may or may not be able to make it due to some conflicts, so she was uncertain at the time. And she was kind of up in the air as to why there was a hearing. And basically, I reiterated the fact to her that based on prior conversations, that once a formal complaint has been filed, the procedure moves on. And it's basically out of my control. That it, formal complaint is filed, we proceed. So what I asked her to do is, she insists that she needs this dog for protection. She stated to me that she is going to have a vocal surgery done on the dog. And she had already contacted Lancaster Animal Hospital to have this procedure done, but with the snowstorm and long story short, I said, well, I'll tell you what, I want a letter from Lancaster Animal Hospital stating that you've done so, and that I'd like to continue with this because I want to put this to rest, that it's only fair to the people in the neighborhood in this ongoing issue. So as you can see in your packet there's a copy of the letter from Lancaster Animal Hospital that she has a consultation coming up with Lancaster Animal Hospital. And a long story short, what it is she has a very large dog that has a very big bark to it. She does not deny the fact that her dog barks and barks very well. And the problem is late in the evening, and when I say late, I'm talking 1, 2 o'clock in the morning generally, as you can see in the dog logs in the back. Usually when it happens, she puts the dog out, and I guess she takes some sleeping aids to help her sleep through the night. She puts the dog out and then kind of nods back off to sleep and never hears the dog. And usually results in the police getting a call. So what was happening was the police were getting a call and they were kind of doing me a favor by going down, knocking on the door at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to wake her up to have her bring the dog back in. So I was kind of unaware of what was going on. And Miss Bostic had gotten the wrong number, so it was a little period of time there before we kind of connected and kind of got things on the right track. However, as soon as we did, I was down there, and at the time, I spoke to Mrs. Drugi. The dog wasn't licensed, the whole 9 yards, which you can see one of the copies. She was fined $75 for not having appropriate paperwork and license. So she's been through the whole spiel, and she just does not understand that she cannot continue to put the dog out, and she continues to put the dog out. And she does not deny it, but for some reason she just doesn't get the message. I've strongly urged her to get rid of the dog. The dog is too big for her. But she feels, and her son has kind of urged her son, she lives alone, but her son kind of urges her to keep it because it's for her safety. I don't think JFK Ave is a bad neighborhood. I mean, never heard it to be a high crime area, but however, that's her choice. But she did go out and bought a barking collar, which I suggested to her. She's done everything I've asked, other than keep the dog quiet at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. And the calls continue to come in, and she does not deny anything. She admits to it. But however, once she puts the dog out, she doesn't hear anything other than the only ones that hear the dog barking are the neighbors. So this is her only other choice.
So she's looking into that. That's the solution. She's going to have
that is
surgery
really
on
her
the
only,
dog.
if she wishes to continue to keep this dog.
Did you give her a time limit, Steve? 60-day, 30-day window, something like that?
Well, basically, this was the latest because she's had plenty of time to go to this.
Okay.
I call this this is like my last resort to ask anybody to have an animal's vocal cords.
Right.
Because that's like my last choice.
Will the dog still be able to bark?
It barks, but it's like it has a bad case of laryngitis.
Pitch, yeah.
So it's extremely muffled. So
So much you'd rather see her give the dog away to someone else to have that surgery done on it.
It's not a harmful thing. A lot of people that have show animals and have a lot of dogs, like I know, like the kennel up on 62 up in Sterling there, they have a lot of dogs, and a lot of them will have this type of surgery. It's not a harmful thing.
Steve, did the collar not work? Is that?
Well, I don't know if it's so much the collar doesn't work as the whole picture doesn't work.
That's true.
It takes a little bit of training. It takes a little bit of cooperation on both sides. So it's a combination of a lot of things. ultimately, this is probably the best solution, because when we forget to put the collar on, or the batteries aren't working, or, for whatever excuse it is, this is a permanent
So
solution.
she agreed to this, she's gonna have this procedure done?
She herself did this, and this is when I called her yesterday.
Yeah.
Or actually, when she called me to find out why she was on there, why she got this, and she said, well, I have contacted Lancaster Animal Hospital, and, I'm going through with this. I said, well, I need written confirmation that you're actually going through with this, and that you are actually
Is there an
serious
appointment
about
for the dog to
it.
get his surgery?
Yeah, so basically, I think at this point, my suggestion was that, there's no denial here, everybody's aware of everything, that a letter from you people, and we'll give her a deadline that basically within the next,
2 weeks, a week?
2-3 weeks, that this she's taken this upon herself, so we will give her 2 to 3 weeks to have this type of surgery done.
I'd say at least 2 weeks almost, because they've been putting up with this for too long.
Sure.
so-
Unless
And they're here
there's
tonight.
medication that's gonna be shared, it's gotta be 2 weeks.
Sure, I mean, and that's basically why I felt, look, we'll just continue,
All right.
letter from the board to her,
Well, let me get a
stating
motion from
that
the board and-
you now, been before the selectmen, here's a letter, you have X amount of time, end of discussion.
We'll take that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the owner of the dog, within the next 2 weeks, is to follow up with a letter to our office with a note from the Lancaster Animal Hospital that the procedure's been done. If not, we need to request the dog owner come back before the board for a hearing for the dog to be removed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded, and under discussion, I just want to say, and Joyce put this in the minutes, that, we had this, we're going to send her a letter stating that, and, maybe you can send that out, soon, ASAP, just so she's on record. I want to reflect it in the minutes that, this is what transpired here, that she's got 2 weeks to have that surgery on the dog.
Letter to Walter.
Mr. Chairman, under discussion?
Yes.
Can we not name the facility? Can we just ask that it's a licensed veterinary hospital?
Sure.
Just in case she doesn't have it done there, and we don't want any...
That's fine. I withdraw my motion and restate it in the general format of any veterinary hospital that wants to operate at local courts.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Unanimous? Thanks, Steve.
Good luck, Rocky.
Rocky. And thank you, Miss Bostic?
Yes,
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Would Mr. Cucci and I also get copies of that letter?
Sure.
If you don't
Yeah,
mind.
that's no problem.
That would be much appreciated.
Sure.
The office will be-
Yeah. Just give your address to the Selectman Secretary, and she'll send you a copy. Stephen, thank you again for a job well done.
Thanks, Steve.
I'll take a motion to go out of order and to go into old new business.
I second that.
Motion's been made and seconded to go out of order into old new business. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay. Next, we have actually up on first thing, under old and new business, we have is the building permit fees that we talked about last week. We do have the building inspector, Peter Pender is here. Pete, you're on. If you'd like to come on up.
Come on up.
You're on.
Mr. Chairman, as the building inspector makes his way to the table, we had him in last week when we were talking about budgets and our fee schedules. And I think, after sitting and kind of reviewing the fee structures and how disproportionate we were to the marketplace as far as what fees we were, the marketplace being other towns in the area, as well as the cost of construction nowadays. My goal tonight would be that we get a quick input from the building inspector, but I've kind of got an idea as to what I'd like to do, and if I make a motion, after he states a couple things he might want to state, I'd like to make a motion stating kind of a definition of the grid as far as the dollar amounts, and make sure that that's okay with the building inspector.
Okay. Pete?
Yeah, well, I don't know if you guys still have a copy of the building permit schedule, the fees. Okay. Well, I did bring you guys extras.
Actually, I have written it.
You know what, I have another one here too.
I got it.
Do you have one?
Do you have one, Dennis?
Steve, do you have one? Do you need one? Yeah, I have an extra one.
Well, basically, again, just to reiterate a little bit what we said last week, you know, in roundtable discussions with other building inspectors, I didn't take the time and do a survey, a written survey, but I just talking to people in the region. Our permit fee of $8 per thousand is below the average. Many towns are $10 or $11, some are $9. And also our per square foot building cost of a house, $50 per square foot. You can't build a house for $50 per square foot. So, you know, I think that it's an avenue. I know, you know, we're trying to balance the budget. So, you know, I spent a little time in this trying to figure it out, and I think that just being fair, I think that we certainly can increase these fees and not feel as though we're ripping anybody off. I mean, and I think we should go across the board. You know, even the smaller fees, like a siding permit for your house or a roofing permit, it's only $50. You know, that's going to impact the homeowner. But you know, if we go up $10, you know, from $50 to $60, I don't think that's really going to hurt anybody for having your new roof put on. So
I guess my thing, what I talked to Mark earlier about too, is, and I just want to know if it was legal or not, that we could just charge, like, if, you know, we had a developer coming in, he's going to build 50, 60 houses or whatever, that he be charged, you know, that there's a commercial rate, and then if someone's just putting a side addition onto their home, that it's not going to break the bank for them to put an addition onto their home. That's what I guess I'm concerned about, just the residential owner that already lives in town that just wants to put a deck on, compared to, you know, they shouldn't have to pay the same as some guy coming in, some developer coming in who's going to drop in 60, 70 houses.
No, right.
That's who we should be charging.
There's a different schedule between finished and unfinished. You know, a deck is quite a bit less expensive.
Where do you see that?
It'll go from 35 to 40 total.
I don't know about that, yeah. Okay.
So, well, Mr. Chairman, if you don't mind, what I'd like to do, and Pete, if you could just try to follow along as I state the numbers that I think are in line. And I have talked to the building inspector a little bit about this during this review of revenue to my other members of the board for the community. So what I'd like to do is make a motion that the permit fee go from $8 to $10 per thousand.
Okay.
The first floor under residential new building and additions, first floor go from $50 per square foot to $75. Second floor finished from $50 to $75. Second floor unfinished from $25 to $50. Basements, lower levels finished from $30 to $40. Excuse me, from $25 to $40.
Where are you?
I've missed one here, hold on.
It says 30.
Second floor unfinished was 25.
Yeah.
25 going to 30.
Okay.
The next going from 30 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
From $10 to 20 in the basements. The detached garage going from 25 to 30. The attached, that was a detached garage. A detached garage going from 35 to 40. Covered porches and decks going from 35 to 40.
Mm-hmm.
Uncovered porches and decks going from 20 to 25. Additions going from 50 to 70. Under commercial and industrial new buildings and additions with architect's estimate value going from $60 per square foot to $80. All of the residential flat rate miscellaneous fees going up a $10 amount. So those that were 50 going to 60, those that were 40 going to 50, and the $25 duplicate replacement going from 25 to 35. The other increase that I'd recommend under residential and commercial, educational and industrial is major renovation remodeling per square foot going from 30 to 50 to reflect what we've done up above.
And I think that also on that renovations, commercial, educational, industrial, we need to go from $8 to $10.
And I include that in my motion.
Okay,
So I just want to go back to the commercial rate. You're saying $60, the old rate is $60 per square foot, and you just want to go up to 80 on the commercial rate?
Yep.
For additions?
$60 per square foot, is that right?
yeah.
No, it'd be 80. Because I'd like to set different rates for a developer coming in.
Well, let me just explain this to you.
Okay.
In other words, in the first section, it says new building and additions. So if someone's gonna come in and build a new house, and they're gonna build a deck, uncovered porch or deck, it's $20 per square foot. Okay, so that, if you have a 10 by 10, that's 100 square feet, times 20, okay? Now, if down further, you skip down residential flat rate and miscellaneous fees, if you look down there, you'll have like roofing, siding, there's a different rate schedule for that versus something that's brand new, you know? If you're already living there, it's a different rate between residential and new buildings. So, I mean, I think as far as impacting the homeowner, how much would it impact the homeowner for a deck, like a 10 by 10 deck? You're probably talking, a 10 by 10 deck is 100 square feet. So
I guess what I'm getting at is two set of different rules. One when somebody owns a house, and if you had a developer come in, like, call it commercial, he's going to be building residential homes, but he should be charged at a higher rate because he's just going to turn around, like we were talking last week, and put it in his price.
But you can't legally do that.
yeah,
Can we legally do that? That's my question.
I'm not a lawyer, and Dennis probably, but I wouldn't think legally you could do that.
I talked to Dennis about it. The way we're approaching this is legal. It keeps it under the mass codes as far as how they...
My way's illegal though, correct?
Illegal.
Illegal, that's what I said, yeah.
Yes. So we have to follow the building codes and how you can't differentiate between someone from wherever and someone that might be building a home for the first time here in town. It's a single homeowner. What we have done though is we really have minimized the impact for small kinds of work that's being done in the house. That's not significant increases. What we've been missing as developments have occurred is overall costs of construction costs are much higher. I mean, a builder's real cost that he charges a home might be $200 per square foot. And yet we're doing an estimate in the past of maybe $50 a square foot.
The first part of this rate schedule is how we arrive at the permit fee.
Correct.
So it's a schedule.
That's right.
Right. So like I said, the example I used last week, if you took a 25 by 40 ranch, that's 1,000 square feet. So then you're gonna say $50 per square foot, that's $50,000. Then as the rate scheduled right now, you take $8 and multiply it by each 1,000. So it'd cost you $400 for a building permit to build a brand new ranch house in the town of Clinton. That's pretty cheap.
I think the fee should have gone to $12 myself. But,
Well, it's up to you guys. I just brought.
What do you
not a
think?
huge impact.
What do you think?
It's
You're
not
the building inspector. What do you see out there? I mean, I'm not gonna...
Well, the only thing I can say is, actually what we did here is, we did it in two different areas. We increased the square foot by roughly 20%. And then we increased per thousand from $8 to $10 per square foot. So roughly we're going up about 40%. So.
All right.
Because you're changing the schedule.
Yeah, we're changing the whole schedule,
Right,
so it's
right.
not just in one area.
You're
But
right, Dino,
it's
though.
a
If
fair-
you're just gonna do it per square foot, $50 per square foot to 75, that's 75 still is pretty cheap to build a house.
Right,
You know.
but with the overall rate,
I understand.
the first
I see.
multiplier, and I think when we look at the numbers, that doesn't put us anywhere outside of being within a normal, permitting type of.
Well, I'll accept the motion on it.
I made that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Motion's been made.
I'll second.
Motion's been made and seconded, under discussion.
So compared to other communities, we're about the same? Less, more?
Average?
Well, I'd say,
Are we under still? We shouldn't be under.
Yeah, we shouldn't be able to.
We shouldn't be.
We shouldn't be under? We're in the, let's put that, we were really under last year. Now.
Are we somewhere close to the middle? I guess that's what
Yeah,
Steve's saying.
we're in the ballpark now. It makes sense now. You know
Before
what
we're
I'm
down the
saying?
street now.
And you can revisit this.
I'm sorry, define that, you gotta define that ballpark for me, maybe like 10% off, 20%?
Well, again, like I say, I didn't take the time to do an in-depth study. You know, I just looked at these figures and, you know, 2 weeks ago when I was preparing my budget, I said, well, you know what doesn't add up here is we're not bringing enough revenue in for the town of Clinton.
Right.
So, you know, I didn't call up all of the towns, but I talked to people briefly. I mean, I would say that we're still cheaper than Bolton, Sterling, Stowe, but I mean.
Yeah,
But that's what? Are they better than we are? I don't think so. You know, we can beat them in football.
But Pete,
Good comparison.
I think the approach that we've taken, or to the, not to Pete, but to my fellow board members, is with this kind of
We're going in the right direction.
a schedule change affords us a significant percentage increase as developments continue to occur within the town. It will absolutely assist us this year and going forward, every year going forward, in our ability to collect on permit.
What's it take to revisit this? Nothing.
Yeah, that's what I say, you can always look at it next time, too.
Right, and maybe, and really, this is kind of, I really kind of just started getting onto this in the last 2 or 3 weeks when I started thinking about my budget.
Yeah.
But, maybe it's something that we could even get a little subcommittee going, or maybe if I get a little help, we could put somebody on it. And next year you could say, here's 40 towns, and this is what,
Right.
and we're still
This is what
20,
everyone's
we're
getting.
still 20% cheaper. So maybe we do want to come up. But I don't think we're going to say we want to come down. We put it up too much.
Thanks, Peter, appreciate it.
Thank you.
So, motion's been made second, and any other discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Next up, we have board and commissions. There are numerous openings on several town boards, and these are the ones that have expressed interest. We have the zoning board of appeals, and we have two. There's a reappointment and currently a ZBA alternate. So I guess those would be my two. We have two openings on the personnel board, and Julie Kilbride's up for a reappointment, so we still have one available there. Conservation Commission, we have two. We have Miss Laura Taylor. She applied 2 years ago, and we have Marianne Castillo from, also from, or I should say from Orange Street in Clinton. Those are the two we have for Conservation Commission, and then three put in, and there's currently 3 openings in the Historical Commission. We have Ms. Robin Davison, Ms. Catherine Christine Quirk, and Karen Hamilton. So basically, all the numbers work out. There's 2 openings there, ZBA, 2 openings on the Conservation Commission, and we have 2 people putting in for that. 3 for Historical Commission, we have 3 people, applicants putting in for that. So anything, we still have 1 opening for the Personnel Board. So I'll just take a motion to appoint those people to those boards. I guess we should do the zoning board, because it is a 3-2 there.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Robert Kilgus, excuse me, and Barry Rogers to the ZPA.
Second, any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. Just one for personnel, just a reappointment.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to reappoint Julie Kilbride to the personnel board.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. We have 2 for the Conservation Commission. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we appoint Ms. Laura Taylor and Ms. Marianne Castillo to the Conservation Commission.
Is there a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion been made and seconded. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
And we have, next up is the Historical Commission.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion that we appoint Ms. Robin Davison, Ms. Christine Quirk, and Karen Hamilton to the Historical Commission.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any question or any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And I just want to thank all those people for putting in their names and their continued support. And we do currently still have 1 opening on the Personnel Board. So if there's anyone out there interested, please stop down or send a letter into the Town Hall, 242 Church Street in Clinton. Thank you. Next up, we have water filtration facility appointments. And we do have the DPW superintendent here to explain what he wants to do. Chris, I think the board's pretty much aware of this anyways. We've gone over it a few times. So we knew this was coming. And Chris is here to...
Yep. Basically, we posted for the two positions as we had discussed for the water filtration plant. It would be the chief operator and the secondary operator. We posted them internally, and we had two applicants, which were the only two that actually met the requirements, not just our requirements, but their state requirements for a T3 and a T2, which is a treatment level 3 and a treatment level 2. I recommend that we hire Bob Swetland and Gary Notaro. Bob is primary and Gary as a secondary treatment operators.
Make that as a form of motion.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint
Robert as the primary and Gary as the...
Gary as the superintendent and Robert as the primary, correct? I'm sorry.
No.
Secondary.
Secondary. All right, so let me get this straight before I don't want to crucify the motion. Robert Swetland will be the primary, and Gary Notaro will be the secondary. So that's the motion. Any discussion? There being none, all in favor? Aye. I'd just like to congratulate those two gentlemen for their appointments.
And the timing of that will be probably about a month prior to the start of the plant. We want them up there for all the startup and, you know,
I'm sure they welcome the challenge to the
yeah, oh, absolutely. It's going to be, they're looking forward to it.
Mr. Chairman, we need to appoint a position to foreman.
Absolutely, for the water department. Is there a
Mr.
motion?
McGowan suggests that currently employed George Morales be appointed to the foreman. I'll make that motion, Mr.
Is there
Chairman.
a second?
I'll second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion's been made and seconded to appoint George Morales to foreman of the water department, Clinton DPW. Any discussion? Just under discussion, I'd just like to, I'm sure we're all going to vote for George, and just like to congratulate him ahead of time because he's been an employee now for, I'd say, 10 years at least.
More than that.
More than that,
Down there, yeah.
He's
Just
been
the
down
water
there.
department, he's been.
Very dedicated employee, was here for the DPW union negotiations earlier when he was leaving.
Yeah.
Bumped into him, so I'm happy for George. I'm sure he'll rise to that challenge too as well. So congratulations, George. Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to post one position of laborer for the water department.
And that is because of the, well, is there a second?
I'll second.
And just under discussion, motion made and seconded, just under discussion, that's because there is a loss of employee from the, being transferred from the water filtration facility. So that's why we need one person to come in and fill that spot. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you very much,
Good
guys.
luck. Thanks, Chris. Next up on open new business, we just have a Apple Art. It's a memo from the Wachusett Chamber of Commerce introducing their business promoting project called Apple Art. The Apple Art Committee will match sponsoring businesses with artists to embellish or transform giant plastic apples into art that will be displayed in the public around the area. This project will promote the region and raise funds for the Wachusett Chamber of Commerce and the Clinton Hospital Foundation, two worthy causes. The Apple Art Committee chairman is our own Economic Development Director, Donnie Lowe. So
Extremely artistic gentleman.
yeah, he is. So congratulations, Donnie, and I'm sure that will be a successful venture.
It's the apple of my eye.
Man, a long day.
It has been more than that.
Very long.
Okay, the Board of Selectmen have received a letter from a representative of the new company that recently purchased a former Quantum Chemical company on Main Street. Okay, maybe we don't want to go into this, but actually he's just talking about some issues there with the fire department, so I guess we can take that up at a later time. Next up we have is lease space search. Massachusetts Trial Court is searching for space to lease and accommodate 100 parking spaces that is within 1/4 mile of the Clinton National Guard Armory Building on Chestnut Street. Lease term would be until June 30th of 2009. Proposals are due to Massachusetts Division of Capital Asset Management by March 30th of 2005. So I wish we still had our good friend Harold Mass there because he could probably help us out on that.
I know,
But
He's
I guess,
enjoying retirement. So.
I guess if anyone does have parking spaces that are available to accommodate 100 cars,
It'd be nice if we did.
they could contact the state.
Or you could contact the board just to facilitate that. It'd be the town here, the town hall. Could contact our selectman, our secretary, Joyce Copacero, and we could facilitate that. And again, that's the trial court. They're looking for 100 parking spaces. Right now, that's a a training center for, I believe, for probation officers over there. So it's a
Courthouse.
good venue. And next up we have is the World Series trophy is going to be making its way here next Wednesday. State Senator Robert Antonioni has been able to schedule a Red Sox World Series trophy to be displayed here at the Clinton Town Hall on Wednesday, March 16th from 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. Again, those hours are 5:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. That's next Wednesday, March 16th. And obviously the public is invited to attend this event, so bring everyone down. And I'll go back to, we went out of order, went to old new business, we have to go back into administrative report. And on our administrative report, the following establishments have requested late night closings for Saturdays in the month of March 2005. Clinton Lodge of Elks, Gale House Grill, Jack's Bar, The Old Timer, Scooby-Doo's, and Ringside Cafe. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to grant the listed establishments for late night closings and any others that come before the board with the police chief's approval.
Is there a second? Second. Motion's made and seconded. All those in favor, or any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? 4 in favor, 1 abstention. And we have a one-day beer and wine license. We have received an application from the Crystal Cafe Incorporated for a one-day beer and wine license in conjunction with the LAOH Celtics Festival. And I think that stands for the, what does that stand for? Ancient Orders, Ladies Auxiliary.
Ladies Ancient Order of Heaven.
There you go. Celtic Festival will be held at the Clinton Town Hall in February, I'll be all right, Friday, March 11, 2005, from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second, Mr.
That would
Chairman.
be the Celtic Festival
Celtic Festival.
for the Italian chairman.
Yeah, I'm not Irish, can you tell?
I can.
I gotta help those abbreviations for me. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? I'm getting dirty looks from our solicitor too now. That's not good. Town Hall use. The Town Hall Use Commission is recommending approval of the use of Clinton Town Hall Fallon Auditorium for the following event. We have March 19, 2005, Clinton High School class of 2005 senior hop, and that's going to be from 6:30 p.m. to 11 p.m.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second? Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And this is an educational venue we have coming up here for the, coming from the fire chief. It's a fire department sprinkler workshop. The fire chief is requesting the use of the Selectman Chamber Room on Thursday, March 24th, so that's next week, at 7 p.m. to make a informational presentation on new sprinkler law that affects establishments in Clinton that occupy over 100 people. This is a new law that was passed in response to the nightclub fire in Rhode Island. So this is basically information on the new law that would be taking place.
That's in 2 weeks, Mr. Chairman.
2 weeks. See, I told you it was a long day.
I'm hearing it.
I'm thinking St. Patty's Day. So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. We have a snow and ice request. Superintendent of Public Works Christopher McGowan is requesting an approval for additional $75,000 in funding for snow and ice account that the winter will never end here, I guess.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Any discussion? There being none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And then next up, we have the monthly reports from the police, fire, and DPW. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Any discussion?
Under discussion, I'd like if we could just request all three departments, Superintendent of Public Works tends to do it, but to dive into an executive summary page
Okay.
choice, rather than just logs and logs and logs of information. I think a summary of numbers.
Condensed.
Yeah, it should be, take the logs and put it in an executive summary format. Thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? It's unanimous. And let's see, where I'll move right along here. Committee reports. We have a veteran agent subcommittee, and I know Steve serves on that. So Selectman Mendoza, you're up on the committee report.
Which one?
The veteran agent subcommittee.
Yeah, we met a couple weeks ago with Bolton and the Veterans Agent, and we talked about how perhaps maybe we can help staff and get our veterans, better going and stuff like that. But We're still waiting on Bolton to get back to us on some of the information as to, they have to go back to their town and find out if they're willing to do that. So it's out there if they want to do that. We obviously have to sit down and agree on what they come back with, but it's something that, we talked about, that the need for veterans is growing. It's going to continue to grow with the Iraq war going on, so if we can better, unite our resources and help everybody out, that'd be a lot better with it, as opposed to waiting till the last minute, be reactive and try to be proactive rather than reactive. So hopefully we'll be able to get together and come to a good solution. So.
Okay, thanks, Steve. Does anyone else have any committee reports? Mark, Dina? I don't have any.
No.
Okay. I just have one for the Recycling Commission. We will be meeting next Wednesday at, I believe, 5 o'clock in the upper conference room here, and that's obviously open to the public. And we'll be just going over, I know our town administrator has been soliciting vendors and seeing how much they're going to charge us this year for the fees, for the bins. We're looking at a April 30th date down at the Clinton DPW yard. That's where the recycling day is always held at our recycling center. And the hours will be from 8 to 12. And again, that looks like it's going to be on April 30th of this year. And if it changes, obviously, I will bring that at our next meeting. Our next meeting will be on March 23rd. It's at 7 p.m. So that's all I have under committee reports. We have a motion to go into executive session under Article 3. We have a fire union grievance.
Public comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, public comment. There being none, we'll...
Dean, you have something to say?
Do you have something to say?
No.
Good pickup, though, because I totally went over that. Basically, the only thing we have is assigning the warrant after we come out of the executive sessions. So we'll be going into executive session under Article 3 under our fire union grievance, and then under Article 3 for DPW union negotiations. So I'll take a roll call vote to go into executive session under Article 3.
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Aye. Chairman votes aye, so we'll be going into executive session under Article 3 fire union grievance, and after that we'll be signing the warrant. So thank you, have a good night.